Hey everyone, welcome back to the dining room shop. So I recently came into possession of some fun new metrology equipment, and I wanted to make a quick video today highlighting one of these such new acquisitions. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Sheffield Accutron electronic indicator amplifier and the Small Holechek bore measuring accessory for the Acutron. This is some really beautiful sort of retro metrology gear here, and we're gonna dig into it starting by looking real quick at the amplifier box itself here, and then get into all the juicy mechanical details of this, what I think is a quite excellent small hole measuring setup here. All right, so here is the Sheffield Accutron gauge amp. A really nice kind of old-fashioned style gauge amp. Just a single input here, and we've got 4 ranges on this particular model, A, B, C, and D. It's plus or minus 4 thou on the coarsest, then we go plus or minus 2 thou, plus or minus 4/10, and plus or minus 2/10 at the finest resolution. And the resolutions for each of those are 2/10, 1/10, 20 millionths, and 10 millionths, respectively. So we also have aside from the A, B, C, and D, a T option here. I believe this is just to test the batteries, the battery charge level for the optional batteries which can power this, so it can become cordless. Right now we're just running it off of AC line voltage, so that gauge is showing full charge there. The ranges all seem to work, at least with the indicator I have. I've not calibrated them yet. That's next on the list. The contacts on the connector are pretty rough. Those need to be hit with some contact cleaner. Sometimes they can get getting a little jitter, and wiggling the connector fixes it. The potentiometer for the fine adjust is also a little bit on the fritz as well. It's quite jittery as I try and adjust it here. As you can see, that's probably due for some contact cleaning as well. Maybe just a full replacement might be a little easier than trying to clean it. But yeah, overall it is in working condition. Just a few things to work on to make it a little better. It just pivots on this little swivel here. It's kind of interesting. A little loose. I probably want to tighten up the nuts on the inside. But one interesting point here, and just to see the back, there's the switch between AC and battery mode. The way this comes apart is kind of elegant and nice. You've got this button on the top, and almost like a school lunchbox or something. You can just crack this open and boom, look at that beautiful internal construction there. So really old style. As you can see, I don't know what year this was made in, but yeah, this is some old-fashioned stuff. The batteries, whatever were in here, as far as rechargeable batteries go, those are long gone. But yeah, you know, for those who are interested and enjoy looking at this sort of stuff, here you go. The caps are all cardboard tube around them, hand laid out, curvilinear traces. This is some serious retro circuitry. But yeah, nice little gauge amp. But let's get into the fun part, which is the Small Holechek. All right, so here's the Small Holechek. Let's, I guess, start out with sort of how this thing works, and then we'll open it up and take a look at the guts. I actually haven't taken a peek inside of this thing yet, so there's going to be some stuff we're discovering how it works for the first time together. Anyways, as it's labeled on the front, this particular model can measure from 1/8 of an inch all the way up to 5/8 of an inch in diameter. As luck would have it, the only actual ring gauge I have is 650 thou, so can't measure that, but I've got a couple ball bearings here which have a 1/4 inch bore. We don't have like a master and like a part to compare to, but we can just compare the bore sizes on these two bearing bores. So the way this works, we have our platen here, which our part sits on, and these two measuring arms. One of them is fixed, this one on the right is fixed, and the one on the left, as that one moves, that's the actual like arm of the LVDT that does the measuring. You'll notice when I pushed it, it moved both of them over. That's because the whole measuring setup is floating here. Now what it's floating on, I'm not sure yet. We're gonna find out. Is it flexures? Is it some rolling element? Is it some pivot? We'll see. But this sort of just freely floats back and forth. That's aided by the fact that this has leveling feet, and that's why there's this bubble level here in the front. If you get it, really far out of level, the stage will tend to just fall to one side and not really float nicely anymore. So we level it with the feet so it can sort of self-align to wherever we put the part down on top of it and not influence the part in that manner. So that's pretty cool. If we look at the side here, there's this little handle, and what this does is it controls the height of the measuring tips. So as I rotate this, you can see they sort of come out like this, and I can have the measuring points be all the way up to about 3/4 of an inch off of the top of the platen, down to maybe 3/16 or so at the lowest point. So that's kind of a handy thing. You can sort of use this to inspect cylindricity in some ways, or at least check the diameter of a bore at multiple locations. So pretty neat there. Another nice touch is, when we are using a bore gauge, let's say this is already set to 1/4 inch bore, so I can just pop this on. We don't really know, we need to sort of move the thing around so that the points are measuring at the widest point of the bore. And they've thought of that for us. This little cam here, you can probably see, it actually shifts the platen back and forth. It's rocking about this pin over here on this side, and it rotates the whole thing like this to move the part and sweep it with respect to the indicator tips to find the largest point. Now, you notice that one wasn't moving. It's just because this bearing is so light that the gauging force is actually sort of holding it in place, and the plate is just sliding underneath it. But if I weight it down with something like this, then we get the effect we're looking for, where it moves the part and shifts it with respect to the indicator tips. I'll keep that on there and reposition the camera here so you can see the blurry needle in the background, and we can try and get this zeroed and take a measurement. So we'll take this off one more time. Actually, we have this micrometer screw over here. This is what adjusts the spacing between the arms. All right, so we can go all the way up to 5/8 of an inch or so, but we're going to come back down. We'll put our part on, and I'll start to adjust the micrometer here, and we come on to scale. Now I'll weight it down so it's not going to run off on us, and I can sweep it with the lever here. It looks like we're not quite on scale then yet. Give it a little more tweaking. Looks like there's our high spot. The micrometer adjust stage is also up for rebuild. I'm not quite completely happy with how that's been performing. It looks like our high spot is pretty close to zero. It's, say 10 millionths under. We are on the finest divisions here. So that's that bore. Zero is around 10 millionths. Take it off, pop this other bearing on, give it a sweep. Okay, that's pretty good as well. So that's about minus 20 millionths. And so those bores, if we're to believe this, are the same size at that location by about 10 millionths or so. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, that's how that works. So I kind of like it. It's got a lot of nice, neat features. I like that that pivot there that moves it back and forth. the way that's done is that's just an eccentric pin. We can actually pull this whole plate off here, and you can see the pin rotating there, and it just pushes on either side of this slot to do that. So that's another nice touch. The bottom of this is actually a cross ground where you grind it on the surface grinder and then rotate it on the chuck 90 degrees and take another spark out pass over it. And it appears to be really nicely ground like that. Seems to have turned out quite nicely. I haven't measured how flat it is, but that's just a nice touch there. And you can start to see some of the goodness underneath that we're about to take a look at. So let's pop the cover off this thing and see what's inside. All right, so here it is with the cover off. Really neat stuff in here. Fundamentally, we've just got 4 different linear translation stages doing all of the different tasks here. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up. So the vertical adjust, that's this handle here. As you can see, that's just a lead screw that pushes on this little triangular piece which pivots there and provides some lever action to move the whole stage up and down. That is, we'll take a look, a double V just ball slide. Looks like one of those cages is migrating, balls threatening to escape there. Might need to get that back into position. But that's the means of that up and down translation. So pretty nice smooth stage there. Next we've got the thing that enables the floating action. Initially I sort of assumed it would be flexures, but it didn't really feel like it, and sure enough it's not. This is actually another ball slide here. So if I rotate this 90 degrees, perhaps we can see, not quite. There we are. So you can see in there, it's just a few balls. There's actually 4 balls in this section here, and then another 4 over here. It's kind of a weird over-constrained arrangement, but whatever. That's how they've chosen to do that, and that's what enables us to just roll pretty smoothly. And as we level it out, it wants to sort of sit in some nice middle position. So that's that stage. Next up, the actual adjustment for the position of one of the measuring arms. That's nothing fancy. There's just this ground steel bar here, and this carriage which sits on top of it. There's these just steel plates on either side that sort of grab the sides of the steel bar. I'm assuming just the body is match ground or very closely ground to the diameter or width of the steel bar. And then there's a screw just with a spring washer screwed into the bar, which holds it down, preloads it against it, and that's what enables our motion here. This could use a little lubrication and whatnot to make it a bit smoother, but that's pretty simple. Here, since we're zoomed in a bit more, we can see a little detail on the measuring arms themselves. They've got little, what appear to be carbide balls. You won't be able to see it. They're actually extremely small, probably a 32nd of an inch or smaller, pressed into the ends of these arms here. But they're designed such that as I bring this in, they actually sort of nest together like this, you can see. And so you can get really close up, get them really close together, and that's what enables you to measure bores down to 1/8 of an inch. So kind of a clever arrangement there. If I wanted to modify this to measure bores of a larger diameter, we can of course do this. It would just be require a means of making new arms. You could put big ruby balls on them, measure sort of whatever size you want, just with some custom measuring arms. And so finally we have the measuring stage here. So this is where our flexures come in, so that's really nice. And this is the stage that provides the motion, and you can see the needle moving in the background for the actual electronic indicator. There's a set screw on top, which is bearing on the spring, and this provides a means of adjusting the indicator force, the gauging force. So that's kind of nice, a nice little touch there. We can play with that, and you could even put in a different spring if you wanted to and get a sort of custom gauging force depending on what you're doing. I looked at the side of it here to take a look at what sort of indicator they were using, and I saw this and I thought, oh, it's just a typical plunger style LVDT that they've just mounted in this stage to do the measuring. So I pulled it out, just a set screw that holds it in, and unfortunately I was completely wrong. It's fine, but this is the LVDT is integral to this construction here. So these are just the coils. These are just the excitation and sense coils of the LVDT, and in there you can just make it out, the little core. That's a steel plunger that goes down inside of this, the coil arrangement, and that's what determines or that's what creates the motion for the LVDT there. This is kind of interesting looking at it. There's lettering on the side of it here, and it's been cut off. So something, it makes me wonder, this actually still might be one of their standard, I don't know, I'm assuming Sheffield made plunger style LVDTs that has actually just been cut and modified to reuse the coil arrangement in this integral setup. It's kind of interesting there. And there's a hair stuck on it. That's probably from someone who's long dead. But yeah, that's the measuring stage of this thing. Really neat. I'll have to reset the axial position of this at some point, so it's in the middle of the measuring range when we're at the middle of the flexure stage range. But yeah, that's the internal mechanics there. This thing's sort of built like a tank. The base here is solid iron, and there you can see the leveling feet. Those just have spheres on the bottom. And the actual housing itself, held on by 1/4-20 screws, is also iron, cast iron, and has a wall thickness of 3/8 to a half an inch or so, going all the way around. So this thing, this whole gauge altogether, that's got to be over 30 pounds. It is an extremely heavy item to just be moving around on the desk here. But yeah, I'm quite a fan of it. It's a really neat little measuring instrument, and it, small hole ID measurements are a non-trivial problem from a metrology standpoint, and I like how they've chosen to solve it here. So I'll certainly be keeping this around, and hopefully it will come in handy for some projects in the future. And hopefully you guys found that interesting as well. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.